Hey, this is Richard with a review of the LivTours small group walking tour of Florence. We booked our tour a couple of weeks in advance of our trip. I like this tour because it hit a lot of the spots I wanted to see in Florence, plus it was a manageable 3 hours in duration. The opportunity to cut the line at the Accademia Museum and see Michelangelo's David was an additional plus. The price for this tour was about $112 per person. The tour met in front of a cafe on the centrally located Piazza della Signoria, a large, busy square bordered by Palazzo Vecchio, Florence's 700-year-old town hall, and the Uffizi Gallery. It's a very picturesque spot with an impressive sculpture gallery along the south end. No surprise, it's pretty much a mandatory backdrop for filmmakers shooting in Florence. After a brief introduction, we stopped at the recently restored Fountain of Neptune on the west side of the plaza, and then went inside Palazzo Vecchio to check out the also recently spruced up courtyard. Designed by the great Renaissance architect Michelangelo in the 1450s and updated a century later, it's a wildly decorated space with frescoes, sculptures, and detailed stucco work on the columns. After that, we walked through a narrow courtyard between the two wings of the Uffizi Gallery that's lined with sculptures of prominent Florentines from the Renaissance. The Arno River is just south of this courtyard. We stopped there for a few minutes before walking west to the Ponte Vecchio, the famous bridge that's enclosed with small shops. Our guide decided not to go into it as it was very crowded. Instead, we headed further west and wound up in a pretty quiet area of imposing stone buildings with lots of wrought iron rings on the walls that were used back in the day for tying up horses. Beyond that, we saw the Palazzo Strozzi, an impressive rusticated stone building that was built for a Medici rival back in the 15th century. There are a number of high-fashion shops in this area. We then continued eastward to the Piazza della Repubblica, once the site of Florence's ancient forum, now lined with a couple of historic cafes and a hotel. Then we headed up to the Duomo and stopped at the Baptistery to get a look at the shimmering, gilded bronze doors called the Gates of Paradise. The doors are reproductions. The originals by famed Renaissance sculptor Lorenzo Ghiberti are inside the Baptistery, which is part of the Opera del Duomo Museum. The tour wound up at the Accademia Gallery just a couple of blocks north of the Duomo. We took a break inside a small store across the street while our guide went and got the tickets. The store has a bathroom. We then cut the line and entered the museum. Most everyone is there to see Michelangelo's David, which is beautifully displayed under a skylight in a gallery at the end of a hall. The hall is lined with some of Michelangelo's unfinished sculptures that are, in their own way, every bit as remarkable as the David. There are other things in the museum to see, including some impressive Renaissance artwork and a big display of musical instruments. You are welcome to linger in the museum if you choose. It's recommended that you tip your guide if you're pleased with the tour. We tipped our guide 20 euros, but I didn't see anyone else in the tour group leave a tip. I highly recommend the LivTours small group walking tour of Florence. It provides a good overview of the historic city center and gives you plenty of ideas for places to visit later in your stay. The small group size makes it easy to ask the guide questions, and cutting the line at the Accademia Museum will save you a lot of time and aggravation. I would recommend doing this tour early in your stay so you can stock away some ideas for future reference. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching.